Every how many years do you plan on changing the boats or upgrading?
You know, the life of each FastCat is 45 years.
45 years.
But for now, we have a vision for the next 12 years.
So every 12 years.
No. We have a vision up to the next 12 years. So up to 2030, we have a vision, and that is to have 60 FastCats
60.
by 2030. Oh. So, you know, in the Philippines, napabayaan yung maritime industry. All the boats are old, you know, especially for passenger vessels. That's why there are a lot of accidents. That's why there's a lot of overloading, because there's just not enough.
Yeah.
Okay, why? Because ships are expensive. You know, it's not cheap. To be able to run a ship costs a lot. You know, the main expenditure would be the boat itself, the ship itself. It's so expensive. The fuel prices. We are subjected with high tide, low tide, climate change, typhoon signal number 1, 2, 3. We are subjected with corruption between, you know, the local government to our regulators, Marina, Philippine Coast Guard, Philippine Ports Authority. So there are a lot of regulations that we have to follow. There's a lot of you know, graphic corruption practices happening in the area. So it's tough. It's a tough business. So not everybody can just get into it. It's not like a franchise of a Shomai, Shopao, or Xerox machine. But you know, it takes a lot of regulation. So when my husband and I, you know, started in this business in 2003, we bought a fleet with old boats. We realized that that's not the way to go. It was just so difficult and hard, because when you buy old vessels, it taps out on you. Training is so difficult. It's not efficient anymore because it consumes a lot of fuel, and our fares do not increase when fuel prices increase. Our prices are market driven, because people who ride us are people who ride the buses, and then farmers, and agriculture products. So we cannot command very high prices. Yeah, so that's when we saw na, okay, the way to go is really modernization. Actually, our government really said, you know, they're really inviting players to modernize. But it's just really hard, no? Not a lot of people get into it because nga, it's hard, and there's not a lot of support from government, not a lot of support from banks, from insurance companies. That's what we found out. And so when we experienced that, you know, hardship and low part of our entrepreneurial life, we said, okay, time to modernize. What we can do is we can rally investors to come join us. Yan nga, so Jam and Feltranco owners invested in us so that we can do our modernization. And then we would talk in conferences about what we feel we need to do in our industry, and that is rally banks, financial institutions to come help us, because we feel that other sectors and industries are helped, except, you know, the maritime, local, the domestic ferry industry. So like they help the airline industry, they help BPOs, pero sa maritime wala. Why? Because of this bad perspective of people. You know, when you ask locals, parang nakasakay ka na ba sa barko? So, ayoko sumakay dyan kasi lumulubog yan, ay overloading yan. People who take the sea lanes, and there's a lot of them, are people who are like, we think, yung mga maid, mga you know, CD, they're the ones using the sea lane. So parang ang mindset natin, maid lang naman yan. So kahit na mabagal, kahit na mabaho, diba? Okay lang, parang ganyan. But what happened when the domestic ferry industry is so low? So our logistics cost is way too high. Goods from Hong Kong to Manila is, you know, cheaper to bring in than goods from Mindanao to Manila. Why? Because there's just not enough ships. There's just not enough service to do that. If you do the old way, which is the containerized cargo from Manila to from Davao to Manila, Mindanao to Manila, it takes a long time. Maybe 1 week. As against a Ro-Ro, if you have an efficient service, you can do it in 28 hours. Mindanao to Manila, 28 hours. But, all the horror stories that happened before about slow boats, unreliable service. Like, today you have a boat, but tomorrow wala, kasi sira, lumubog, all these super bagal, may nagnakaw, all these sorts of stories are, contributing factors why our logistic cost here in the Philippines is just too expensive. Why people are discouraged to see the islands and travel using the sea lane because of all that aspect. So, as I told you, in 2010, we decided to do a modernization. So, we said, okay, when we modernize, we will have one kind of ship, this model. My husband actually researched what would be a good model of a ship. So, ito yung nahanap niya. So, FastCat. And then we said, we will brand it so that wherever you go in the Philippines, if you say it's a FastCat, you are guaranteed of a standard look, a standard boat, standard service. And then we said, we will zero in on the weakness of the industry. So, we will address safety. We will make sure that our boats are safe. Not only the hardware of the boat, but we will make sure that we follow the highest safety standards. Not only on the hardware itself, but with our people. We will practice the highest safety standards, follow laws. We are in compliance with all regulatory requirements. We will train our people to really bring up the quality of service. And then we said very fast because the standard speed of the ro-ro vessels plying the Philippine waters would be 8 knots, and we promised to do 16 knots. Depends on the weather, it can go from 13 to 16 knots, but at least our promise is 16. So that is way much faster than ro-ro vessels. So we're not talking about the passenger only fast ferries, na passenger lang sila so they go faster. We're talking about ro-ro vessels. That means, as you saw in the video, we take in cargo trucks, we take buses, we take in all these trucks that take agricultural products all the way from Manila to Mindanao and vice versa. So we said very fast, and then very convenient. Why very convenient? Because we will think of the passenger experience. If you ride an old ferry vessel now in the Philippines, it's slow. You don't know who the officers are because they're not wearing uniform. They're wearing sleepers. You wouldn't be able to identify who they are. Toilet is foul smelling. There's no water, no toilet paper, no soap. They allow vendors to just come in. No aircon. You don't have space. No seat number. And then it's variable because the boat design are just so different. So you can ride a boat with plastic seats, wooden seats, no space, no seat number, so you don't have your space. You're really rubbing elbows with the person beside you. So all sorts of that. So dahil walang regulation, so that is what is available in the Philippines, and all would be like average 30-year-old vessels, 30, 40-year-old vessels. So we said very convenient. We will sell food inside. We will have aircon. Our toilets are clean. It's not foul smelling. We will have toilet paper. We will have soap. We will employ the highest standards. Like an airplane model, our people are wearing uniform. They're trained. We use industrial grade cleaning material so that we maintain the highest standards and may safety. Safety. We don't want the spread of germs. Our seafarers don't sleep in the boat. They do 2 shifts such that the airline model, they go down and then sleep in a house that we rented outside the port, so that nobody stays there, because in our experience, if people stay in the boat, it becomes their home. Filipinos, we have a tendency to cook anywhere, then it smells like tuyo, and then they bring their aso, they bring their manok, they bring their girlfriends, and it becomes like, whatever. So we said, no, nothing like that. We will maintain, like the airline model, na talagang you just use the boat to ferry people. Nobody sleeps there, nobody stays there. So we changed that. We're the first to do that here in the Philippines, and somehow competitors started bringing in new boats, which is what we really wanted to do, so that Filipinos can have better water transport, better transportation. Um, and that's what competition just really does, diba? So between old boats and new boats, with people knowing that there's kind of that service, then it's good for Filipinos to have this. So when we started doing this, so very safe, very fast, very convenient. People in the newspaper, yeah, they were saying, Mr. Pastrana, you brought in new boats. It's faster. It's new. The engines are brand new, and technologically advanced. Because we use electro diesel engines. They said, but you charge the same price as your competitors. How do you make money? And so Mr. Pastrana said, profit is secondary to us. What is important is that we show Filipinos that we deserve better, that we can do this modernization, and then our profit will come. Because we believe that if we do this, then we are contributing to the connection of our country, and it just has a ripple effect, as you saw in our videos. It has a ripple effect on the way people move, find jobs, effect on agriculture, tourism. So it has that ripple effect. So if you put a connection in the islands, you just see that just opens up to, opens up a lot of doors and opportunities for the islands. And as I was telling you about the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, which we hope to achieve by 2030, it's really achieving a lot of the goals, and I can show you that. You can take a picture later, because we see that if we connect the islands, we not only provide decent transportation, we not only provide access for them and connectivity, but the ripple effect that it will bring to agriculture and to food production and jobs, inclusive growth in the area. Okay, we're big on training. All our people are subjected to the highest training possible. We have our own e-learning in our system. That e-learning is like it's called iLearn FastCat. It's like our university wherein we customize training, and then the universal training that they need to know as seafarers or people employed in a shipping industry. And why do we do that? Kasi, that's what I realized having this business. When we first brought in our brand new FastCat, so we turned it over to this Filipino seafarers. So it's brand new, every time this is built from scratch. So Mr. Pastrana and I would fly to the shipyard and watch every milestone, from it being a flat metal sheet to becoming a ship like this. And so we turn it over to our Filipino seafarers. And when I go and I see that the quality of maintenance is just so low, it breaks my heart. I'm near to tears because I said, oh my God, what are you doing, guys? This boat is brand new. We gave it to you, turned it over to you, and what have you done? Parang it looks like it looks old. Why? So I always have that question in my head. Why? And you know what? This is distilled information that I have researched on and read and observed for the past 5 years being here in the modernization process. What is sad, young people, it is so important for you to hear this, is that the quality of education here in the Philippines have gone so low that we produce people who are not competent enough. They have diplomas, they have passed board exams, but still the quality of service and the competence level is just dismal. Parang we have already succumbed to mediocrity. I don't know if you notice, but if you go to our public places like airports, wag nang lumayo, PNR, train station, MRT, don't go too far, MRT. How are we in maintaining it? How are Filipinos maintaining it? How you see toilets, you cannot flush, no toilet paper, all out of order, faucets, and Filipinos are okay, and somehow that's what we were battling with when we did this. we have this notion on domestic ferry industry is mediocre, and people have come to accept it na parang, domestic ferry industry okay lang yan, wag na, wag na, even on maintenance of the engines. These Filipino seafarers would have a mindset na okay lang yan, pwede pa, domestic lang naman. But when they're outside, gagaling, di ba? I
Yeah.
don't know if you know that the Philippines is the mining capital of the world, but it's under threat. Why do they say they want Filipino seafarers? Because we speak English, because it's inherent in our genes, because we're an island nation. They saw their grandfathers, their dads, moms, uncles, aunties being seafarers, earning dollars, and these young people have that notion that my key or my solution to my poverty is earning dollars. And so everybody aspires to go outside, and then what becomes of us in the domestic ferry industry? All the good ones, they go out brain drained because they earn in dollars, they make 10 times more. Here in the Philippines, we get, when we started this business, we get fresh graduates with no experience and not competent enough, or we get the old ones who are retirable, who have already made their money, but they just want to stay in the Philippines, but they're really not as driven and not as dynamic and not innovative enough. So what happens in the domestic ferry industry?
Still have to train them more.
Yeah, that's why we really have to set the bar high and tell our people. That's what I tell them now. Now, guys, what's gonna happen? Good, it's good that we're able to modernize. As it is, it's so good. I feel that it's God's blessing that we're able to modernize. We're able to bring in ships like this. We were able to get the nod of bankers, insurance companies to support us in this project. So what's gonna happen if we don't do our part, if we don't pay our loans that is payable in 10 years, if we don't sustain the service, what's gonna happen to the people who need to bring the farmers who need to get their goods, the fishermen who needs to get their catch to Manila? What's gonna happen to us? So it's good. Nothing's wrong with us with the young people, young seafarers wanting to earn dollars and making so much more. But think about it. I tell them, think about it. What about our country? Who's going to be left? What about your kids or your grandkids to be? What's going to happen to our country? So I tell them, please think about our country. So now what we do is that we tied up with schools, as you saw in the video, so that we can start their cadetship program of these seafarers, aspiring seafarers. We get them to serve in the domestic ferry industry, get them licensed through our scholarship program, and it is our hope that if we bring up the competence, then it will have a ripple effect on the way we deliver our service in the domestic ferry industry, bring up the competence, so just really upgrade the domestic ferry industry, and then have that extra effect on the global need, because 1/3 of the money coming in our coffers, from the dollars that come in our coffers, come from seafarers. So we feel that we really need to give attention to these seafarers. So there's a lot. If you see mga Norwegian Training Institute, Japanese coming here giving us aid, because they don't produce these seafarers anymore. Filipino kinukuha nila because you speak good English and all. But what? Now Chinese are teaching their young how to speak English. Indonesians are also, our competitors. So my point is, if we don't do something now, if we don't correct our educational system, if we don't bring up the competence of our seafarers, if we don't correct, government, corruption and all these mga regulations that are not thought about, well thought of, or plan ahead, we might just lose it again. We might just lose again our status of being the mining capital of the world. So when we modernized, we thought our impact would just be on the hardware itself, but then as I said, little did we know that we will also make an impact in the seafarers, because now with the system that we're doing, we're able to take in a lot of these maritime students and take them in for their cadetship program. and therefore, if we produce these officers, and if we produce these seafarers, they will not only serve the domestic, they will not be the labor force for the domestic only, but also for the global. So it has that ripple effect. In my studies and research in the maritime industry, there's about 40,000 students enrolled in our system studying maritime, but we can only take in like about 5% to do the cadetship program. So what happens to them is that they get stuck, and then they wait for a long time before they can get into a ship to do their cadetship. So they end up being baggers in SM, in groceries, in Anson. There's like a parang stumbling block, and then they're stymied. But with what we're doing, with the increasing fleet of FastCat and us organizing ourselves and having a training institute, we're able to help them and produce seafarers. There's also a study saying that Filipino seafarers are happy with just being ratings, so not officers. So to be an officer kasi in the seafaring world costs a lot. Why? Because it's highly regulated by the IMO, International Maritime Organization. So there are really, these conventions that our government adopted, because of course by international pressure, they want to follow these standards. They said we have to train. These seafarers have to take all these trainings before they can go abroad and seek employment, or before they become officers. That's so expensive. So in our studies, to get to the next step, they have to spend like 130,000 pesos. So 130,000 would include their reviewer centers course, their practical assessment course, other the required trainings by the IMO, by our marina, our regulator. Of course, they have to pull them out from where they are so that they can be billeted near the training center. So that has cost, and their food, and the whole process takes minimum 3 months. So it's so costly, and that's why we don't produce also a lot of officers, because a lot of them don't have that kind of money. So in our case, what we did is to offer scholarship. So we make them, we advance all the cost of them being officers. We make them serve in our fleet, bond them on like a 2-year or 3-year option for 2 years, 3 years. So we help them become officers. Then we have officers, and then they can be sent abroad also after they would have served their time here in the domestic ferry industry. So we're happy that we're able to do that, because then we would be achieving a lot of goals. So win-win-win situation then. Okay, and then within our cadetship program, we make sure that we include talks on agriculture, talks on entrepreneurship. And why? Because we have seen in the past that when seafarers come back from their working outside and they have all these dollars, they don't know how to handle it, they don't know what business to get into, they don't know how to reintegrate themselves back into our Philippine society. So in the way we train them, we don't only follow what is required by the STCW or the standards of training and certification and watchkeeping, but we include, open their eyes on possibilities of maybe you can be a farm owner, maybe you can be a ship owner, maybe you can be a hotel or an Airbnb, whatever, tourism operator, ganyan, in the islands where you are, so that you don't flock here in Manila, dito siksikan tayo, dense, and not really get the return that you want and what, quality living that we all aspire. So that's what we do now. So we connect the 3 nautical highway corridors of the Philippines. I can show you a frame later on. You can take a picture. So having a FastCat connect the corridors of the nautical highway will just mean better connectivity for Filipinos, whether you are transporting goods or whether you are a tourist or whether you are a local doing your regular business. It just means better connectivity, safe connectivity, faster connectivity, which will be good for business. So right now we have 12 FastCats. We are expecting delivery of another 10 next year and another 10 by 2020, and we are targeting to have 60 FastCats by 2030, and that fleet would also connect to Malaysia, Kudat, Malaysia, so Palawan to Kudat, Malaysia, and General Santos down to Bintung, Indonesia, and we will also deploy FastCats in ARM, our autonomous region of Mindanao. So Tawi-Tawi, Zamboanga. So you see, we have marked our map, no, of the connection that we will do. So when we started 2013, and now we started in Batangas, that's our gateway. People there just really saw the impact of having a good service. When I stayed in Infinity Resort in Puerto Galera, the owner, when the owner found out that I was staying in her resort, she drove 2 hours from Calapan to join me for dinner just to tell me that I came here to tell you how FastCat changed our lives, how we love the service and enjoy the service, and how we want the business to stay there, and so we are supporting you. They said, they remember the times when they had to ride wooden boats and, you walk on wood, yung small wood, how unsafe it is, especially if you're old. But now with that, they realize how good it is, how cheap our prices are when we provide like airline service, but at very, very affordable price. So people really, parang we're planting seeds of goodwill to people in the area, such that we get a lot of letters from the congressmen and mayors saying, please, can you connect our islands? They would come here, they would talk to us, write us letters saying, please, can you connect our islands? Because they see that once they have that connectivity, once they have a reliable ship that can transport their people, it will just open up things for their islands and just start to improve and progress. And you can see later on, if you want to take pictures of the recognition given to us by local governments, in appreciation for the connectivity that we provide in their islands. So we aim to be game changers and trendsetters in the transportation industry in connecting the Philippine Islands. We want to be the preferred choice when people go to the islands. We want them to think of FastCat and take FastCat. 32 FastCats. Within the FastCat system, we have established our IT infrastructure, wherein we have an enterprise asset management system, from our purchasing to inventory to accounting to finance. We now have a computerized ticketing system. We are working on our reservation system through an app, or there are travel agencies now where you can buy your tickets, but it's still not direct to us. So we're still working on that, but the stumbling block would be the internet service, that because we're so far out in the islands, the connection is still not reliable. So, but we're not stopping. We're continuously finding ways and means to improve it, putting boosters, using technology to be able to do that. So within our IT infrastructure, so we start with our ticketing process, booking, ticketing, yung enterprise asset management system within our organization, our asset management. It is our hope that if we have this asset management system that's computerized, we will be able to manage our fleet better. The reliability, of course, will be assured because the boats are maintained well and properly. Uh, we do technical cooperation with our suppliers. So let's say fuel would be one of our highest operational expense. We tie up with them. So whether it's Petron or Shell, we tap their resources to help us monitor our fuel efficiency, safety of the delivery and receipt of our fuel, quality of our used oil. So they provide like laboratory service and they help us monitor that so that we can, have a third party help us manage the wellness of our engines. Like Jotun Paints, you will see that they featured us in their global magazine, and so it's making the connection. But more than that, we send our officers on board to the paint school of Jotun in Batangas, wherein they learn about proper application, the colors that we use, corrosion, how do you apply. Yeah, so technological partnership, we do that. We are using also a technology called Vessel Tracker, a technology from Germany, wherein from our head office we're able to track where our vessels are real time. It has a feature on weather, so we can see what's the weather, where they are, time of arrival, time of departure, up to speed. We can see that. So it is needed, in this industry. It helps a lot because for safety reasons, if we see what weather is like, then we can help them find shelter or stop the voyage. So it just helps. This is how we're using technology in our system. That's part of our IT infrastructure. We also use an IT software to manage our crew management, our human resources. Also because we are geographically dispersed, we're so far apart. We have about 600 people all scattered all over the Philippines. So using that program and software and using technology helps us manage better. For next year, our byword, or our goal is to achieve operational excellence. And we achieve operational excellence by continuously training our people, and then using technology, using resources, to help us, all these tools to help us manage our business well, help us to communicate better, and to just achieve the operational excellence that we need to achieve in order for us to sustain our service, provide that service, and to connect the Philippine Islands. So I always say to our people, the Filipinos are depending on us, to do their business. So we have to be that reliable company that they can count on to get their harvest, to get their produce, for them to do their business as well. So that's our direction. Always keep up with that service, and we only see that happening if we train people. Really bring it up, bring up the quality, the awareness of people. And going back to what I told you earlier, sad that the education and the competence of Filipinos, have just gone so low. So young people, we need more people like you who are able to go to good schools, good universities, to really be good in what you do, so that when you get out there, you make a difference. Because there's just a few of us who are blessed to, have this power, and therefore we need to increase more people so that we can affect, people in the low-lying areas. So in the course of our business, we do a lot of CSR. I saw it here. We do a lot of CSR. So I would say that our CSR is intrinsic. It's embedded in what we do. So as I mentioned in our logo, in our tagline, which is found in everybody's IDs and in our uniform, painted outside our brand. Okay, so I train people, I tell them that. What's our brand promise? I would say, what is our brand promise? So we say very safe, very fast, very convenient. So I ask, so if you don't oil our engines and then our engines stop and we can't deliver the 16.5 knots that we promised, are we fast? If there's no toilet paper and there's no soap in the toilet, are we convenient? If you don't sell food, good quality food in the boat, so I buy Nestle. See, that's why I have a relationship with Nestle, because I sell Nestle products in the boat, and they help me in my food, selling the food in our snack bars. So my point is, in the course of our business, we make sure that we deliver our brand promises. And within our business, my husband decided to give the concession of our snack bars to our employees cooperative, and so they enjoy a profit share. Okay, so our snack bars are run by our employees cooperative, and the profits obtained there goes to the employees. We consider that as CSR because they get that profit outside whatever salaries and benefits they get from the company. And it is our hope that when they have that participation, they will provide the best service possible, which will ensure us also a sustainable service and good quality service to our customers. We take pains in affecting not only our employees and their families. We will also want to impact the local community where we are. So in the course of us doing business, we see in some communities nomads, alam niyo yun, yung mga badyaw na tinatawag. So they have their small wooden boats, and then they will stay beside our boats, and then they have kids, and then they will ask the passengers to throw coins, and then they will dive and get that money. So that's their way to earn, diba? But when I was looking at that, oh my God, that's not safe. They can be eaten by our propellers because we're bigger. The ship is bigger than their wooden boats, and they have kids pa, mga 2 years old, 5 years old, that they live in the boat, and the kids can just be eaten by the propeller. So it's not safe, and you can imagine the impact of that. If an accident happens, then our fleet stops. Then we don't have a boat to connect the islands. People won't have a ship. The cost is just so big. So we said, okay, let's gather them together, and then let's talk to them on safety. So when I got the social worker, call on them and say, hey, can you contact the Bldg community? Please tell them we want to talk to them. And they go, why do they want to talk to us? And of course, how do you get them to come? So we said, okay, we'll do a medical mission. We'll do a kiddie party for your kids. McDonald's kiddie party. And I solicited from a friend who gave oatmeal, so we fed them. And then we did a medical mission because I have my eldest daughter is a doctor. So we did the medical mission for the moms. And then my mom brought na rin dentist and a dental, like a dental mission. So we had the medical mission. And then we gathered all the dads, talk to them about safety, put them in one room and tell them safety. What is it? You just don't go out and sea, and then you stay side by side with big ships because you may get killed, or it's not safe to just be out there because they're not educated there. So at least just talking to them, that's how we do our CSR. So we do that. So we get everybody, our employees, come join us. So kanya-kanya kaming duty. So some are assigned in the medical mission, some are assigned in the kiddie party, play games with the kids. Our safety department would be handling the dads, doing the safety talk, and then some are doing my mom and my daughter doing the medical mission, And then we brought na rin medicines to give to them. Kasi ano naman ang saysay, may doktor, wala ka namang gamot. So of course, we brought na rin gamot. We solicited some money from our suppliers, some from medical companies, but a lot of it also would be coming from us. So it's really philanthropy. And my purpose in that, when I did that, is I wanted these fishermen, these fishing communities, to see FastCat, and then when they see FastCat in the sea, they will have that good feeling and say, "Oy, they are our friends. You know, they care for us. They're our countrymen, and they take care of us. You know, they're not like big ships and snooty who don't, you know, care to have a relationship with us." So that's my goal. So we've been doing this for quite some time. In fact, I have some pictures there later if you want to see. In one community, we had a talk on free diving. So we talked to these fishermen because we heard that in some fisher folks would get this stroke. Yung talagang magiging invalid sila because they do free diving and they don't know the science of it. So yun, we get speakers to talk to them why it's not safe to do free diving or dynamite fishing. So just, you know, getting this awareness on marine environment and their safety, little things, but reaching out is, we feel seeds that we can plant that can have a big impact on the community. And then the CSR started to grow because when people started hearing about it, there's a community called Voluntarista who said, "Hey, we want to be a part of it." They're volunteers, but what they do is that they will bring in their skills. They will talk to the young kids on the elementary schools and teach value formation through art. So they're volunteer teachers, architects, bankers. So we go to the islands, we take them, they ride our buses and our FastCat, and then we go to the island in one school in cooperation with the local government unit. And then we paint murals, isolated paint from Jotun, and then we paint murals, and then we leave a message. Our message is save our seas, just so we can create that awareness on our young people on environment protection, you know, marine environment protection, save our seas. That's what we say, but you know, express it through a mural and art. And before that, the teachers will talk to them, play games with them, so that we also impart good feelings and good relationships with the young people of the islands. So we've been doing that, and so far we've done several, and we hope to continue doing that over the years. We get the brand out there. We want them to be our friends. We encourage volunteers to come join us. In exchange, these voluntarista get to see the islands. They get to experience raw nature, the falls, rice paddies, farms, and then I guess it's a win-win situation wherein they get to be tourists, but they're volunteers. They get to talk to just, you know, spread the word about ecotourism and what they can do in the islands. In some outreaches, we plant in the mangroves. We do coastal cleanup. So that's how we affect. So we focus on maritime, you know, maritime. In our last CSR, we added another feature, which is concert by the sea. That is in Bldg, Mindoro. So in cooperation with our team, voluntarista, the local government, provincial government, we brought in a band, and then we had a concert. And then in that concert, we told everybody, you know, how we are an island nation, how we can you know, create awareness on us being an island nation and us being a maritime nation, and how we should take care of these resources. So I remember having the city council come and approach me and say, "Wow, ma'am, I didn't realize that Bldg can be this. all the time we just see this happening in Boracay. I didn't know that we can do this in Bulalakaw. So, I just opened their eyes and educated them to the possibilities of their town being a tourist destination, because in reality it's beautiful. It's just that there's no infrastructure yet, not enough hotel rooms, not enough tour guides, but then now there's an awareness, and local government is really doing something about it. So we don't only affect our employees, our local community where we operate, the local community where we operate, but I guess society as a whole, because as I mentioned earlier, doing this business of FastCat, moving bridges, it's called. We are building an infrastructure that will have a ripple effect in our country, nation building, national unity. Inside FastCats, in the snack bars, we sell local products from the farmers. So we sell the banana chips. Our goal is to less imported sana, more of the products of the island. So we sell the banana chips, we sell the pita and sardines, suman from Mindoro, bizcocho, piaya from Bacolod. So wherever we are, we have the products of the islands. And it is our goal to help promote the products of the islands, products of the farmers and fishermen, so that we also help them, and then get Filipinos to know about these products, consume these products, so that again it will have that ripple effect of from the producers to the consumers, more business for everybody. So it's like a win-win-win situation. Yeah, so that's what we do. So it's quite exciting, and as I mentioned to you earlier, within our marketing framework, we show them the beauty of the islands, of what you can see there, what you can experience there, what to eat. So if it's Surigao, it's surfing and all these beautiful sights to see. If it's the Pita and the Rizal Museum. So it is our hope that we, through our marketing campaign, we are able to educate Filipinos to know more about our islands, our culture, our food. And it is our hope that we can also spark local tourism. So instead of us going to Hong Kong or Macau, then maybe we can get you young people to take the sea lanes and see the islands and experience what being Filipino is like, the differences of the people in the provinces. So I remember when we took that suman that we sell from Mindoro to Cebu, when we opened to Cebu, the Filipinos in Cebu or Tobigo would say, "Oh, so this is how they eat suman in Mindoro. I didn't know. They eat it with latik, like us. We eat suman. It's different shape and it's white, or we use cassava." So little things like this. It's like us getting to know who we really are as a people, as a nation, and that's quite exciting for us. So yeah, we promote our country, we promote our culture in what we do. In these young seafarers, we spark patriotism, by telling them, yeah, okay, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to earn dollars, but please serve the domestic ferry industry, because we need to do this for the future of our country. So CSR is pretty much embedded in our operations, with the impact that we do in the islands. Our management team would all be highly educated and experts in what they do. So you saw that I studied in World Maritime University, Executive Maritime Management, because I finished nutrition in University of the Philippines. My husband finished agribusiness, but he took up his master's in entrepreneurship, but now we're into boats. So what we do to educate ourselves is we are very much active in the different professional groups. So as you can see, we're members of the American Bureau of Shipping. And if you read the certificate of membership there, it says The people who are accepted in American Bureau of Shipping are people who are eminent in their field, so experts in their field. We are active in Interferry. Interferry is an organization of ferry owners in the world. We have annual conferences tackling global issues on the ferry industry, and Interferry holds a consultative seat in the International Maritime Organization so that we have a voice in doing, the writing of regulations, fees, and new technologies. I'm currently the vice president of Women in Maritime. It's an organization of women in the maritime sector, and we have 3 advocacies. That is promoting she to sea. So we want to address the goal of women empowerment and gender equality. Okay. 2 is we are there to promote safe ships and safe sea travels. So we came up with a poster on safety, and we made sure that the wooden boats plying the Philippine waters have it, so that we educate not only the boat owner, ship owner, but also the passengers, like on the use of the life vest, what to look for so that you have balance, what is overloading, so awareness on safe travels, safe sea travel, safe ships. And then the 3rd advocacy would be care for the marine environment. So we are aligning ourselves with regulators or women in the maritime sector, so that we get together and have that voice to just promote the advocacy on maritime. And we're just grateful that we get the recognition of our community. So as you can see, the 2 oblation, my husband and I graduated in University of the Philippines. So he got a Distinguished Alumna Award for Corporate Governance from my husband, and for me naman, it's a pioneering role in women in maritime. So that's what they recognized. So far, our government also recognized us. So our regulator is Marina. So they awarded us for being pioneer in modernization. We hosted Interferry in the Philippines in 2016, and we just put the Philippines in the global map of countries who are modernizing, countries who are bringing up the standards, because as I told you earlier, we're known for high incidences, maritime accidents, and that's on our record. But with us doing this modernization and just bringing up the standards, we get to show the world that, hey, in the Philippines, we are also modernizing, and we are also bringing up the standards. We are increasing the competency of our seafarers through our training and e-learning that we have. It's actually a technology that we got from Canada, who are also members of Interferry. So when I saw that, I said, we should bring it to the Philippines just so we can bring it up. So our people can access on demand all this training and information about our industry. And then we have assessments. And then that's part of our KPI. So when we do our annual KPI, it is part of the requirement that they should pass our e-learning, and they should get like an 80% mark on our e-learning. Okay. And then we are very much active in the local professional organizations. My husband is now the president of the Philippine Inter-Island Shipping Association, PISA. He was past president of the Philippine Ro-Ro Operators Association. He sits in the board of Marina, our Maritime Regulatory Authority, so that he can also put in his professional opinion. in the state of our industry. We also attend conferences on ports because we also run ports. So we believe that in our in travelers' experience, the experience starts when you ride the bus, you take the terminal, and then you take the ship. So since we also own ports or operate ports, we make sure that we also bring up the quality of service in the ports. So it's the same. We want it clean. We want it efficient. There's toilet paper. There's soap. Okay, it's secure. Our people are trained and they know the code. You know, the international ship and port security code. Like everybody's well aware of that. We follow regulation. We even go beyond compliance. You know, being a member of the American Bureau of Shipping is going beyond compliance because if you want, you know, to own a ferry company in the Philippines, Marina is your regulator. You don't need to be internationally classed. But for us, we even went beyond that, and we are international classed. Now, to be able to continue this kind of service, we're working on our ISO 9001-2015 this year, setting our manuals in place and our safety manuals first and foremost. So we hope to finish that also within the year together with our IT infrastructure. So in time for our 20 boats coming the next 2 years, we would have set our foundation very, very strong and very clear so that we can sustain the quality of service that we provide right now. So as I was telling our people, it's not like we say, okay, we will have 30 boats by 2020, but then what are we doing? How are we preparing? What are we doing on a day-to-day basis to ensure that we will get there? So as I mentioned to you, we're doing our IT infrastructure, we're doing our standardization, we're really bringing it up at par with global standards to ensure the quality of service that we do. So we also support government in their call, also government called for modernization. So yeah, we brought in 12 boats. But June last year, our government, our House of Representatives said that they will do an inspection trip. So we actually took them around the Philippines. We did a 12-day tour with our congressmen. You know, and yeah, it was good because they were able to see the countryside. They were able to see the real condition of the countryside, and they gave us that certificate of appreciation for supporting them because most of them they took FastCat and they experienced what the local Filipinos, you know, would experience if you are taking the sea lane or if you're taking the bus or if you are taking your car. So we're very much abreast with the ongoings in our industry by networking with not only with the local stakeholders but global as well through Interferry, through IMO, through the Philippine Ports Authority. We're members of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. In fact, my husband was a speaker when there was a conference on the Strong Republic Nautical Highway. We were speakers at the Regional Forum on Domestic Ferry Safety. I was a speaker in the IMO conference held in Timor-Leste. There you see it says Women in Maritime Asia Regional Conference transitioning from the Millennium Development Goals to the Sustainable Development Goals. So we're big on making sure that we reach these goals and really keeping up our standards. So we also get a lot of appreciation from schools, maritime schools, because we take in their cadets in our ships so that they can finish their shipboard training program, which is a requirement by the CHED or DepEd from them, no? So, they had this big issue that so they should be able to send their graduates to onboard ships. So they call it a carrying capacity. So if you have 1,000 enrollees graduating third year, they should be able to send 60% of that. So for 1,000, dapat 600. And that's the perennial problem because there's just not enough ships to take them in. But with FastCat, we're able to take them in volume because we created a system that can take them, meeting all the training regulatory requirements and of course the highest standards, because if they train in a modern boat, with all the highest standards, with green features na nga kami, we have solar power, wind power, electro diesel engine. We believe that we're contributing in the education and the quality education of our seafarers. So if you summarize all these articles written here, it's really for safer shipping, modernization. If you put it in 2 words, modernization, safe shipping, connecting, connection, high tech, going high tech. As we speak, my husband is in Amsterdam because he's witnessing the tank testing of the new design that we are using for the next 10 vessels that are coming. So we are not stopping from innovating. So we saw the first 5 boats that came. We analyzed what can be improved, and then we applied it on the last 5 boats that came. And we're not stopping. So the next 10 boats are coming will be improved version. We plan to really improve based on what we see in the market. So these are custom built boats for the Philippine market, for the Filipinos. Unlike what we see now in the industry, the boats plying now the Philippine waters are second-hand boats built in Japan or Korea. So they no longer use it because it's old. Their country does not allow it. It's not efficient anymore, but they still use it. So this is what is different with our FastCats. This is designed by international standards, Australian designer, made in China but made for the Filipinos, but internationally classed. So there, that's our story. Ano ba question mo? Ano pa hindi ko sinagot? Sinabi ko na lahat, what it affects, di ba? Feedback, you can check out our website. You see a lot of feedback there. It's mixed, it's varied, but generally good. Generally good because we, we're the first to do this and people are quite happy. Motivation, why we got here. So I'll tell you a story. When my 2 kids, 4 years old. 4 years old. My second child was 4 years old. This was back in the 90s, maybe mga 1998. We drove from Manila to Calbayog. To get to Calbayog, you have to cross Aroro. I will show you. Can I move? It's okay. I will show you.